Ta-da! And welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow, or subscribe to any of the videos that I put out there. Just put them out there where I can. Have a holly jolly great time doing so. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about ground signals. I don't want to say it's a part one or part two, but rest assured we're going to come back and talk more about ground signals with some other things. But for the most part, because I don't have a lot of yards and things like that on this layout, they're pretty far and few between. But of course I wanted some on there because they just look fantastic. And the good news for me is what a time to be alive if you want to go down the avenue of ground signals. There are so many. So we're just going to take a quick peek today at the DCC Concepts range of ground signals. I say range, there's a few that they make, different styles. There's the little red and green dwarf ones, and there's the red and white styled ones, and the off angle ones, and the little triangle looking ones. There's lots of different types of ones you can look at. But I'm just going to be looking at what I selected for the layout today, and not just from DCC Concepts. I also did implement one that I picked up from another popular trading site that's 1/10 the price, and seeing how you can still take the same thing and apply it into what we've seen, how we've wired our signals directly into the point motors. So a little something to be seen here and what we've done. But let's dive in now and see what it's all about. So now we can get down and dirty. It's lights, camera, action as we come down to the fiddle yard. And it's a perfect time to have a quick chat to you about ground signals. Now, as you may have noticed in some of those videos, the ground signals were put in more than 12 months ago. And I have been building some footage together to have a chat to you, but we got busy with other projects. But as we've cleared the base of the fiddle yard now to start putting that down, it's a great opportunity now, while everything's clear and empty, for me to stick my head in under. There's not much we really need to talk about with the ground signals and the way it all works. Again, if you're using the DCC Concepts approach, they have these mimic panels to be used with mimic panels, ground signals, and a range of other things. And it is so plug and play. It's just wonderful. So it is a very quick video today, and let's dive in under and have a look at what we've got. Just a little bit of homework. And if you haven't seen it before, please do go back and check out the video regarding how I wired up my actual signals directly to our point motors. I think it's a fantastic way to go. And as it throws one way, it'll go red or green or up or down, depending on what you need. And when you switch it the other way, it'll automatically change. No additional programming as necessary. Also, there's another video in this location. If you didn't already, check it out. Should you choose to be using the DAPOL motorized semaphore signals and would like to know how that can be integrated, because there is a little trick to that with the DCC Concepts thing, and an additional little board you may need to purchase. Check out that video, because that's got some excellent detail in how that all works. And while it will cost you a few extra dollars, I will say that the results yield a tremendous result. I only needed to focus on one up here based on the scene that I'm doing, but it was money well spent at the end of the day, and I'm so happy with how it all looks. Some pre-housekeeping on how the wiring of the layout works. For those, if this is the first time for those of you joining us on the journey here, thank you for joining me. I run 3 buses around the layout. The first one, and you can probably see some of them over here, is marked as track. So they're just all track feeders, and that's the DCC driving when I jump on the controller and drive the trains. Second bus is, of course, our accessories. And if I just swing the camera around a bit, you'll probably notice a little green tag over there marked ACCS. And you probably can't quite see the distribution point, but that, of course, is our accessories. So all of our lights and little accessories like that, just your 12 volts to plug into, but most of all on this layout it's just to do with lights and things like that. It's also what all my woodland scenics just plug lighting hubs are all connected to, and that's all being fed by a transformer directly below me here. In fact, it happens to be this one from Woodland Scenics with the Australian plug on it, and it lives under there. It's temporarily disconnected at the moment because we don't need that, but it's also piggyback to turn on our fiddle yard lights, which is what we're doing now. The third and final bus, of course, is just to do with the points, of course. So DCC Concepts do our point solution. I've got 12 effective points on the layout, and we're just using their alpha control panel, which I'm very happy about. We've done the mimic panel, as seen in this video somewhere here, which has been my greatest regret on this layout. But most importantly, we were using these alpha mimic panels to create the mimic panel that we've created. And at which point that now brings us to what we can now do with ground signals and other signals using the mimic panel, where we're going to be seeing it in action on this other side. So let's go and check that out. It's just behind me, and I'm pretty sure I only have one on the layout at the moment. So let's go and have a closer look, shall we? Prepare to hold your breath on this one, because how stunning does this look where you've got the empty board. Don't panic, Fiddle Yard video is coming up very shortly. In the meantime, underneath, as you can see, we try and keep it pretty logical. Again, we've got our track feed distribution points. We've got the accessories, as you can see, feeding off here. And if we just take a step back to here, you'll see the points, and these are the ones that distribute over to our point motors accordingly and feed the signals as well. So there's a bit going on with that, but that's pretty much how it works. Again, swing over, accessories, again, another track one located there. Here we've got another accessories, there we've got a points one. So when you start following the red and blacks, which you can see, there's basically 3 core feeds that come all the way back around. So I think it's pretty logical for anyone to quickly get their head around. But we're going to make our way just over to where most of the points happen. Sorry, I'm going to have to come all the way back on this side, because I am just searching underneath the board now to see, apart from that tremendous shot there, if I actually have any more of these mimic panels underneath. I don't. The rest of them live under the mimic board where our controller is, as seen in this picture here. And here we go. Here is one of these alpha mimic panels. So as you can see, it's neat and tidy under the board. It just has the point controller coming into it. And while this is for 12, you'll notice there are 24 of these outlets. That's because there's a left and a right for each of them. So if one is heading off for the red and one is for the green and they're in the wrong polarity, you just need to swap the 2 wires over. So as you can pretty clearly see here, starting over here, 1 left, 1 right, 2 left, 2 right, and it carries on all the way down to 6 left, 6 right. We come down, and then we're going to follow it 8, 9, 10, all the way through to 12. So nice and simple, and I don't need ground signals on everything. Hence why you only see a few little stragglies going on, and some of them have actually got a Y adapter on them and are splitting off to mimic what needs to happen. So a couple of screws put in and a few wires, and as you can just see here, some of them I'm literally just using their extension wires on it. Yes, you could solder it any way you want, but I must admit those adapters aren't that expensive, and a few extension wires means you don't have to muck around with the different fittings. Just plug and play as required. Well, here we are. I, of course, have already unboxed this, so to speak. But here are our ground signals. What's fantastic about this is, of course, you're going to get 8, 9, 10, and 11 and 12, which I've taken out and temporarily wired up. In the pack as well, you'll also be getting your mimic panel as well, which is a nice, simple way. As I've explained before, I only have a series of 12 points. So as a result, I don't have to do any additional programming, 1 through to 12. And of course, what we have here is 1 left, 1 right, 2 left, 2 right. And basically the left and right just means that particular aspect you're doing. We could say 1 red, 1 green, 2 red, 2 green, setting up if you're using dwarf signals like that. But it's really good. All you've got to do is plug it in. So if you said, I need some ground signals on point number 7, 7 left, 7 right, and just plug them in. And if they're not in the orientation you want, just swap those 2 leads around. You can't go wrong. Programming is exactly the same as I've mentioned before regarding programming on your DCC panel. There's a wonderful menu button. You can go in and do your additional programming, but we're going to leave it as the default 1 to 12, which is fine. A nice on-off switch. That's all I have to do. I love it. Let's apply some power and check it out. Now, just regarding what you need to do to get it wired into the layout, obviously the bus system you're using, or as I have a dedicated bus system for my points. You just need to tap in anywhere along the system. It could be at the start, the end, it doesn't matter. Red, black, stick it in, the system knows what to do. I guess the great thing about it without any additional programming is if I go to change my points, and for example's sake, let's just change point number 12. You can hear the point throw, and you also see the number come up. These ground signals, if we have a quick look here, have actually been wired to number 12. So isn't that a spot of genius that I actually chose that one? I can't quite remember. Hopefully if you can see on the camera there, one will show white, white, the other one red, white. Now, if we just push number 12 again, and you will see them change. Pretty impressive, isn't it? So the real question is, what happens next? Well, that's simple. We drill a hole in, and that's it. They give you some pretty ample amounts of wire anyway, and you can imagine most of my action for ground signals will happen in that feature section on the layout. So this panel can just be pretty neutral, and we can just connect. Again, it's just black and white leads. If you want to extend it, you would just cut it and join them up. For those of you who know that you're going to have to extend these by perhaps a meter or half a meter, really aren't too interested in the excitement of getting the old soldering iron out. Not that I actually have a dedicated one, but DCC Concepts does make basically what is an extension one where you can plug either lead in and extend it for solder-free operation. This one actually is a Y splitter for doing something else we'll talk about in a future video. But the point is you can basically pick up a 6-pack of extension joiners for about $10 Australian or thereabouts. And then there is a vast array of different types of extension cables. This one is a 1 meter one. A pack of 6 1 meter cables here. Of course, they have them in 750 mil, 300 mil, and 150 accordingly. So if you're looking for something like that, that's a good option to go with. The ground signals themselves is really good construction. This is a metal rod going through, so when you go through into your board, that's going to be nice and solid, and it's really well constructed. It also is adjustable if you need to just pop the height or just give it a little bit of angle where needed. I really think they've done their homework on these particular ground signals, so you won't be disappointed. Let's just pop back to what is basically the back card of the packaging, is also the owner's manual as well. It's, as you imagine, from DCC Concepts, they definitely don't get this wrong. It's all about the support, and I can speak from first-hand experience. If you need anything, get on that email. Chris, Mick, the entire team are there at your disposal and more than happy to help you, no matter how silly the questions could be. Again, it's very good with its instructions. They have comprehensive PDFs you can go through and see some other options in action. But pretty much these mimic panels, whether you're doing ground signals or other signals or mimic lights on your panels or something, it's the same thing, and it really is just that simple. What I really love about DCC Concepts is they'll also show you applications and real life applications, so you don't stray off, you sort of know what to do. Now for me, one of the biggest ones, and we'll zoom in on a closer picture of this here, is this one that actually shows the points being thrown and not being thrown. So if you're not sure where to sit the signal and the way it should be lit depending on the throw of where the point is, as you can see, when it's double white like this, it's obviously straight through. And when you've got the red and to the side, we're off to the point, which when you sort of look at it, that logically does make sense, meaning that the light toward the right is you, the train. These are the options. You're either going straight or veering off that way. And basically the white light's telling you which way you need to pay attention. They also do some variations. There's the different sort of square variation they do, and also we also have the red and green, which is the more sort of USA version. Now I actually have some of these. I prefer the red and the green, but somehow this just seems to fit the era of what I'm doing. You may see a little bit of both on my layout at any one time, but we've obviously purchased these, so we may as well get these in action. Again, if you're looking for some fantastic operation, you can get the lever set. I think it's a great investment if you're going down that path. As I've talked about before, I did want to do this with the Lottk wire-in tube system, but it didn't work out, and at the time this option wasn't really practical. This is a great way to go. It does take up quite a bit of space. These are seriously well-built levers that you'll actually have to flick the release to get them to move, like the real deal. And there's a lot more work to customize them. I think this is a really, really good way to go, and I'm not ruling out you might not see me come back to this, because it really makes you feel like you're operating a signal box. Again, depending on the different integrations you're using, whether you're using the Alpha Sniffer or the Alpha Box, all the instructions required are here, and it goes through through the best way for getting a fantastic result. So they have done their homework, and they've really come to roost with a fantastic product. So if you're in the market for some ground signals, you can't go past this. It does cost a bit, I won't lie to you, but all the hard work is done. There's no complicated soldering or knowing about programming which wire to this one or any of that. Plug it in, go. For those with more complex DCC numbering systems, well, it's 1 to 12. So if you're starting your ground signals at number 60, you know that from 60 across to 72, this will take that accordingly. So let's dive on in now and get this installed onto the layout. One thing not covered in this particular manual is regarding drilling the drill size for getting these things into the baseboard. Just wanted to share a quick tip with you. Now, I've noticed this in another DCC Concepts product, which we will be talking about in a future video, regarding some other keyhole sizes they don't mention, and there will need to be some experimentation. In this situation, since it's got a nice little frame that hides whatever the hole is, I just roughly need to know how big to get it in, and I'll be dictated to that, of course, by the rod size, but most importantly by this little connector here. So a top tip that I like to do when you're selecting that hole is to grab your drill bits, any sort will do, roughly eye out what you think the size of that's going to be, and we'll kick it off with a 4mm and just poke it in. A 5 looks quite good to me. It could be problematic getting in and out depending on the thickness of your material, so of course we could jump up to a 5.5. I'm going into a pretty softwood timber, and once it's in, it's in. Remember, if you can keep it just a little bit tighter, you won't need to glue or anything. It'll just slot and sit down. That way, if you do ever have a problem and need to pull it out, unplug the wire, slide it out, gentle little shimmy with it, because we know it is going to come out of the hole, and you should be okay. Again, being that we're going straight into a plywood, I don't mind just giving the drill a little bit of a massage left to right, just to give it a slightly bigger, wider opening, just to shuffle down, but nothing too major. So 5mm is what we need on this job. And speaking of which, just a few quick demonstrations of some track diagram and indeed a few real life pictures that generally show that these ground signals are mounted on the left hand side. I'm sure it's courtesy. I'm sure you could put them wherever it makes you get a big smiley face. Okay, we're going to get started here with this particular point. Now, of course, the two main lines and coming onto this siding here are actually operated by two signal gantries, but entering this point will head us into the sort of yard area. So there's 1, 2, and 3 points we need to concern ourselves with. Generally, these ground signals are always located to the left of a line, so that's what we're going to stick with. I also thought I'd just quickly make mention of another ground signal. Now, this is one from a popular trading site, and this can be purchased for a fraction of the cost of what the DCC Concepts one is, and this one actually is 2 red lights at the bottom and a green one at the top. I quite like the look of them, and we certainly may well see this type of ground signal used in the petroleum depot area. Again, it's all pre-soldered with the resistors, so you can literally just wire them straight to a point or what you so choose to do. Anyway, let's put that aside. So we're going to need to slot this one in, and I'm thinking basically somewhere about here is where he needs to be. It might even be why there was a yellow pin here, but we're going to drill our hole here and slot the first one down. So really quickly here, just taking a drill bit, testing it on a piece of timber to find the exact hole we need. 5mm was exactly the drill size we need. So we just whack some holes in here, suck it up with the vacuum cleaner, get it nice and clean, and slot those signals in. Yes, this is looking rather good. Just remember, I haven't finished the track work and ballasting around this area. Still a lot to do, but at least these are in and we can carry on around them. You know, this is an absolute pain to shoot. I'm trying to just give you a nice, clean, simple shot. But because of where the point is located and because the lamps have some hoods on them, as soon as I come down, you're losing that profile in a bad way. I'll find the shot for you shortly. So the signal's set to the red and white, meaning we're going on the alternate route from the point. So as the locomotive will pass over, it'll slide over to the other line smoothly. Let's bring that locomotive back. Double white and it would be straight through on that one. Now let us just have a look at the actual point throw in action. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, the signal changing there nicely. One more. It's too good, we better do another one. Ladies and gentlemen, that is of course the story. petroleum depot, you'll see we have a couple here. This one's indicating it can go straight through, and that is correct. And if we look at a further one here, it's indicating that that line is set to go basically a straight through. And of course, if we just come around the other way, and we'll just pay attention without swapping them over, can't get you a great camera angle here, but if you were obviously a locomotive that was parked up in the petroleum depot here and making your way out, we obviously have a signal. That ground signal is saying straight through, which means you're going to head off to the refueling depot. However, if we do swap over to the alternate route, just pay attention to this particular signal up here, which is wired actually to the point. So when we fire it, it means you are going to be getting the green light to get main line access. Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the end of another video. I hope you enjoyed just a little bit of a quick demonstration there and kind of what we can do. You can really get a sense that where I'm going to start moving once we've got the faulty towel situation a little more under construction here. We're going to now start heading back to the station and yard side to start bringing some scenes together now. And that's the thing, because while there is some ballast down on the around the track in that area on this feature section here, I haven't come back. You'll see I haven't really done any weathering. There's lots of bits where you can still see exposed cork and things like that. There's a lot I actually want to get going on with here, and that's sort of the next part of the chapter. So all the sort of trunking and things you'd expect to see, I haven't sort of put the cabinets in their final positions, but we are certainly getting to that and making some tremendous progress. But I hope you've had a little bit of a snapshot, because for anyone that's certainly using a DCC type of layout or what have you, if you've been dabbling with this, I could not think of an easier way to get some ground signals happening other than maybe the easy track. And I think Markland had some pre-done points where they actually had a little illuminated indicator on the same mechanism where you actually changed the point, throwing it from one way to another way. But in this particular application, if you're sort of going for your own custom kind of layout, this has got to be the way to go. It's a winner. So as always, thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see you in that next one. Please do stay safe. Toodles.